It's impossible to overstate the seriousness of this situation. There was murder for money, and I am the only witness. My crime is not being a criminal. My crime is being the only witness. My crime is having the evidence and knowing how to present it. The more evidence publicly disseminated, the less the case depends on my testimony. The evidence will speak for itself. Look what happened here. I was jogging on the cart path at North Shore Towers, and a car came up from behind, sped past me without any warning, and if you notice, made no attempt to stay on the left side of the path. I felt he was entirely string close, and if I would have taken a step or two to the left, he would have run me down. But as it turned out, this was only going to be a precursor to what I would be experiencing in the next few weeks. Now I'm going to discuss the 2 attempts to run me over while I was jogging on the golf cart path at North Shore Towers. There seems to be a perverse idea that this was no big deal. Then again, they think murder for money is quite all right. North Shore Towers does not understand that no matter what happens, what is said, what is not said, they still try to run me over. And that doesn't go away, ever. Full stop. On the upper left, I have a photo of the guard path, golf course, and in the background, North Shore Towers. Incidentally, on the previous slide, when the car came up behind me, I was running away from the building at approximately the same location where this photo was taken. On the afternoon of July 13th, 2020, I was running on this path when I noticed a Summit security car with its lights flashing driving onto the golf course. Below is a photo showing what one of these security cars look like. It's actually a Jeep, which means that its hood is significantly higher than a passenger car. There was a level of disbelief when I realized the Jeep was heading directly towards me, straddling the golf path. Fortunately, at the same time, the golf cart path had an option to veer left, which I took, avoiding a critical incident. This took place around the area where I placed the yellow oval. The following Monday, which was July 20th, 2020, undeterred, I decided to go for a jog. I didn't expect it would be a repeat. I was wrong. Approximately at the same time and location, a Summit security car was driving towards me. This time I landed on the hood and smashed the windshield. It's always amazing how criminals act like victims. What the hell were they expecting 2 weeks in a row? I wasn't going to call the police because I know the police would not be of assistance. North Shore Towers did me a favor by calling the police because now there's a record of the incident. Now, it happened 2 weeks in a row. You can't dispute this if you look at the text. I think that's a problem for North Shore Towers. The audacity of North Shore Towers charging my father for the cost of the windshield, which essentially means I had to pay for it. So I had to pay for the privilege of potentially being run down. And what's the narrative? That I just jumped on a hood. Consequently, when I met with Thomas Kopp, trying to pursue justice in terms of what happened to my father, he sat back in his chair with a smug look and he said, "You jumped on the hood of a car." Now, what do you say when a person makes a comment, thinks they're being smart, and yet he's being moronic? But he's a policeman, so you smile. I actually told him what happened. Didn't seem to matter to him. So what's the takeaway? Someone said this was okay. Someone decided on this. Who decided my father should pay for this? Who decided this could occur 2 weeks in a row? Where was management? Where was the co-op board? Who in security said it was okay? Who is protecting these people? So now we're moving up the food chain. Who told the police this is okay? Queens District Attorney's Office. We're talking about all different types of corruption, abuse of power, witness intimidation, obstruction of justice, betrayal of the public trust, and on and on and on. Next slide. What you see here is self-explanatory. This was close. I thought we were going to sideswipe each other. In retrospect, the most troubling aspect of this incident is it occurred outside Northwell Health's property. This is their internal security force. From what I've observed, most of them carry and are ex-law enforcement. They are not a private militia. I decided not to follow this guy. There was no reason to, so I went on my way. As you can see, I had a problem with my brakes. My brakes were tampered with. In terms of when it occurred, let me explain the dates. On April 15th, 2022, I sent a couple emails out. One to John Mayo, who's head of Northwell Health Security. The other one to Thomas Kopp, who's a detective who works out of the Queens District Attorney's Office. I have dealt with both of these guys. Both of these guys first gave I want to be your friend, I want to help you. And later on, every time I spoke with them, the harassment would increase. The reason why I'm at Northwell Health a lot is because LA Fitness is located within the property. So the timeline is this. Friday afternoon, I sent out two emails. Saturday I worked out, and on Saturday the 16th, worked out at LA Fitness. On the 17th, I didn't take out the car, and on the morning of the 18th, when I was about to drive to court, I realized that the brake fluid was low. Since the brakes worked, and typically this kind of situation, it just means the brake fluid needs to be topped off. Went to court. Afterwards, I went to the nearest auto parts store. I lifted the hood. There was no fluid in the reservoir. I knew there was a problem. I'm lucky the brakes didn't fail on the way to court. Filled up the reservoir, parked the car in the garage. Next morning, brake fluid's low again. Brought the car to a mechanic. They lifted the car and they found the picture that you see. A small pinhole in a metal hydraulic line that leads to the back brakes. Would have been hard to detect if I had an accident. Not only that, because the brake fluid was reading low, the diagnostic computer probably would have held on to the code, so I would have been blamed for it. So the question is there a connection to the emails? I certainly believe there is. This is a big problem. Given everything I've experienced, it can't be dismissed out of hand, which certainly should raise some questions. I met with Detective Thomas Kopp and his colleagues at the Queens District Attorney's Office at the end of February 2022. I set up the meeting to discuss the murder of my father and the harassment directed towards myself. The first statement at the meeting came from Detective Richard Lewis. He said the only reason I was there was because Deputy District Attorney Audra Bierman felt threatened. This meeting deserves a separate video, which I will get to. The result was after the meeting, the harassment increased. And then a couple weeks later, I got a call from Thomas Kopp. He wanted to know how I was doing. A prosecutor feels threatened, and a detective calls me and wants to see how I'm doing? And then he asks me, what am I going to do about the car? What kind of question is this? It makes sense if he wants to know whether I paid the car insurance on it, which I just had to. So is this detective working for Joseph Rosenberg, the crooked attorney? This is why I sent this email. I sent this out on a Friday because on the Monday I had a court date and I didn't know how that was going to go. And I shouldn't be in this position because my father should still be alive. And I shouldn't be harassed every day. And I sent out this email to tell him exactly how I felt. And I knew he wouldn't be happy about it. Did I expect the brake lines to be cut? No, but I did expect a reaction. I'm not surprised about what happened. It fits in with their pattern of behavior. They feel they're above the law. Societal norms do not apply to these guys. On April 15th, the same day I sent an email out to Thomas Kopp over at the Queens District Attorney's Office, I sent an email over to John Amio, who's the head of corporate security over at Northwell Health. I mean, they've been working in tandem. It's synchronized. I get harassed more by the police. I get harassed more whenever I go over to Northwell Health. And it's the same problem. And it started intensifying after I had the meeting over at the Queens District Attorney's Office. And so what I did is I sent him an email. And I got him angry as well. That was the intent. And because it's true, they have had two shootings. They had a shooting at LA Fitness, and they had a shooting at 1999 Marcus Avenue where someone was murdered. And if they weren't so focused on me, maybe they would have been on patrol in these other places. After this email, the harassment increased. I don't understand the point, because they've already tried to kill me. So if the end game is murder, how does harassing me help them? Is the person on the left the same person who's in the middle and the same person who's on the right? For me, it's an obvious yes. I'm about to show why this is important. This is April 20th, day after I had my car repaired. You see a car pulled in there. That's for Northwell Health. It sat there about a half an hour. Now it's coming around. And he's eventually going to park on the side where my rear dash cam can just pick it up. Now, the guy who comes out here is a person I've seen many times in an SUV. I don't know whether he's a policeman. I don't know who he works for. He may work for Northwell Health Security. But this is the guy. And I'm going to show that he's constantly swirling around my car in an SUV. And the problem is this happened right after my car was tampered with. And then you could see he's pulling away. Everything was sped up. He was there for a couple minutes. But now I'm showing this individual in an SUV swirling around. And you could see his face. And you could see the different SUVs. Now, you have to look at the times here and see how often on this particular day he was swirling around the car. And he has a different SUV. You see, I don't see a good answer here. I don't see how I get out of this. I mean, I'm a witness to a murder, and the police and whomever is in authority is willing to do whatever it takes to keep me quiet. So I'm sort of stuck, and the question is, what do I do about it? And that's the real issue here.